Chapter 442, Exploration Mission. Alger looked at Fours and returned with a question. You were forced to drink a second apprentice potion. Why did you figure it out so easily? It's as though you were there to see it. Fours uncomfortably cleared her throat and said, Yes, let's just pretend that's what happened. What solutions do you have? What do you need me to exchange for it? Alger glanced at Mr. Fool, but seeing that he had nothing to say, he replied in a calm and low voice. You don't need payment, because it will certainly not be able to satisfy your needs. Without waiting for Miss Magician and Miss Justice to ask, he casually explained, High-sequence Beyonders can independently decide whether or not to pass on their Beyonder characteristics to their descendants, and how much they will inherit as a result. Sequence 6 and Sequence 5 will naturally pass a part of it in an uncontrollable manner. Although the quantity isn't a lot each time and wouldn't affect the Beyonder's strength, their sequence will regress if they have enough children. Such a child is born with high spiritual perception and a certain level of incomplete Beyonder powers. Audrey suddenly came to a realization, understanding the origins of some special people. The Hanged Man nodded. Yes, they're equivalent to half a Sequence 9, with a certain amount of characteristics. If they want to become a Beyonder, they can only choose the corresponding path. Of course, such people might not be a result of inheritance. It might be the result of them gaining the blessings of a deity or the corruption of an evil spirit. There are many factors that can cause the same degree of influence. Also, when high-sequence Beyonders have children, they might give birth to someone who's already at Sequence 5. This is one of the rare instances when one can advance without losing control. So that's how it is. Audrey sighed with satisfaction. To her, knowing more mysteries was more enjoyable than getting a nice dress or jewelry. Fours also came to a realization as she pressed. Then, what about Beyonders at Sequence 7, 8, and 9? Theoretically speaking, their Beyonder characteristics will not be passed down to their descendants, but that is not absolute. If there's an excessive amount of Beyonder characteristics, there's a chance for them to be passed down as well. That is to say, if you're pregnant with a child, there's a way to effectively reduce the remnant potion in your body. No, one might not succeed, but 3 or 4 will stand a higher chance. 3 or 4. Four stared agape. Klein, who had learned all of this general knowledge from Roselle's diary, couldn't help but think of a joke. Miss Magician, in the future, you can say to your child that you were a free gift from drinking a potion. Although it seems that, according to Mr. Hanged Man, the burden can be reduced the moment a child is conceived, having a child would still require almost 40 weeks of trouble. No, more than that, it's impossible to leave the child after it's born, right? After grasping the acting method, even if the process subsequently becomes more difficult, 2 months will definitely be enough time to digest it. It might not even take that long. After all, it's just a starting sequence. Fours forced a smile and said, I understand, the best way is still to rely on acting to digest it. Alger gave an affirmative answer. That's the case for Sequence 7 and below. After that, digestion would easily take a year or so, 2 to 3 years, and then 5 to 6 years. When that happens, giving birth to a child would be a simpler plan. He added inwardly. There were a few seconds of silence, as the two women digested the knowledge they had just gained. This was the first time they had known that having a child had such uses. For Derek, this was common knowledge. He adjusted his posture and said, I've been assigned another exploration mission. Where to? Alger tilted his head and asked. It's still the half-destroyed Temple of the Fallen Creator, Derek answered without sounding too grave. It sounds like there's a certain guaranteed level of safety. Audrey didn't interrupt. The Hanged Man pondered for 2 seconds before asking, Is the Shepherd Elder still in prison? Yes, this exploration will be led by the chief. The son didn't hide the facts. This way, the danger level will be much lower than last time. You can give it a try. Alger couldn't help but look at Mr. Fool once more. Unable to read any thoughts from the other party's blurry eyes, he continued to speak to the son. This should be your last inspection, before the surveillance is completely removed. Previously, the information you made known was that Ammon is archenemies with the fallen creator. They wouldn't mind exposing themselves to spoil the others' plans. This time, by heading to the fallen creator's temple for exploration, As long as you don't reveal any abnormalities, the 6-member council will basically determine that you're no longer under Ammon's influence. Mr. Hanged Man sure is experienced. It's as if he was planning the operation. Derek kept it in mind before asking, "What else do I need to pay attention to?" At the very end of the long bronze table, the fool, who was quietly watching, opened his mouth. Flesh and blood ravings. Klein had only said 2 words, leaving the Tarot Club members to comprehend them on their own. This was the demeanor of a great figure. The Hanged Man pondered for a few seconds. Then he said to the son who had thanked the fool, "In particular, don't look at what you shouldn't, don't listen to what you shouldn't, don't eat what you shouldn't, and don't touch what you shouldn't." "What are those that shouldn't be seen or heard?" Derek asked, puzzled. The Hanged Man said with a deepened voice, "After entering the temple, everything is included." "Then how should I explore?" Derek asked in surprise. The Hanged Man chuckled. "Aren't there other members? Isn't there a chief?" It really is Mr. Hanged Man's style. Audrey subconsciously wanted to cover her face with her hands, but the education and habits ingrained in her had told her that such actions weren't graceful. So she forcefully changed the way she moved, stroking her drooping hair and pushing it behind her ears. The son felt that such a method was quite unacceptable. Upon noticing his reaction, Alger secretly cursed before saying, "What I mean is to listen to your chief's instructions. Only do what he allows you to do. At any other times, do not take matters into your own hands." "I understand. Thank you, Mr. Hanged Man." The son instantly relaxed. "Phew." Alger exhaled and turned to the woman opposite him. "Miss Justice, I wish to know the political changes in Backland after Duke Negan's passing." Audrey recalled the information she had heard, both directly and indirectly in recent times. Duke Negan's death has divided the House of Lords. Although his eldest son is about to inherit the nobility title and become a member of the House of Lords, his prestige isn't enough to calm the dispute. Nearly 10 members of the House of Lords have jointly proposed that the newly conferred nobility should also have a chance to obtain a fixed seat as a member of Parliament. Simply put, let those who are conferred nobility through political donations, charity donations, and the purchase of land become members of the House of Lords. Hearing this, the Hanged Man Alger laughed. Aren't nobles with a certain amount of history in their family line the ones who despise such people who rely on unorthodox means to be conferred a nobility title the most? Wasn't the ultimate honor and their greatest pride the fact that a fixed seat in the House of Lords was hereditary? Ignoring the inadvertent mockery, Audrey calmly explained, "When you have tens of thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds, or even more debts, you will also make the same choice." Owing money wasn't a fatal threat to many nobles, but the debtor could apply to the court and use their lands as payment for the debts. Without the minimum amount of land needed for a noble title, their status as nobles would be on the verge of collapse. And then, Alger didn't continue to harp over the previous question. Audrey gave a rough description. "This kind of dispute has put many bills on hold, including, but not limited to, the raising of worker salary, the improvement of working hours, and revising the poor law. It's gratifying to see that the Civil Servant Unified Examination is still progressing steadily and hasn't stopped, and the investigation into the air pollution in Backland is also going in depth. There will be no war for the time being," the Hanged Man whispered, and he went on to talk to the other members. Worried that staying too long in the bathroom would arouse suspicion, Klein announced the end of the tarot gathering after they were done. After returning to her room, Audrey didn't rush to get up. She first quietly sorted out the things she needed to do after this. Looking at the mirror in front of her, she played with the accessories on her earlobes. With a slight smile, she silently muttered to herself, "There will be a psychology lesson tomorrow afternoon. I can tell Miss Escalante that I've met someone in a beyonder circle who's looking to buy the human-skinned shadow characteristic and has promised an abnormally generous price for it. I wonder if the psychology alchemists will be interested in it or not. Also, I mustn't forget Roselle's diary and the wind-blessed formula. Yes, I have to find the psychiatrist ingredients as quickly as possible. Audrey, you can't be lazy. Susie is already a sequence 8, so you can't let her overtake you." After pacing back and forth in the room, Fours finally made up her mind and pulled out her chair. She grabbed a piece of paper and a pen, and after mulling over it for nearly a minute, began to write to Dorian Gray. She described how she learned of someone who requested the characteristic of a human-skinned shadow and the wind-blessed potion formula, as well as her curiosity over the Roselle notebook. The capital of the Rorsted Archipelago, the city of generosity. Alger Wilson walked out of the hotel and headed for a secret underground market. His target was the hair of a deep-sea naga. He had no intention of missing a human-skinned shadow if someone had it. "I'm short on money." Klein sat in the living room and sighed again. He still needed quite a bit of cash to ensure that he could purchase the items directly when he received clues regarding the human-skinned shadow's characteristics. Klein thought for a long time, wondering if he should find other channels to sell the Beyonder characteristic left by the interrogator and stop waiting for Miss Zio to save up her money. After an unknown period of time, the sound of the doorbell rang, breaking the afternoon silence. This is a meme in China. The gift can be quite a wide range of things, one of them being a gift from topping up a telephone SIM card.